Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, and just 2 days ago, Democrats shocked the nation, winning across every single one of their competitive states, ranging from state and local legislative races to statewide attorney general races, lieutenant governor races, the governor races in New Jersey and Virginia, and statewide propositions in the nation's largest state, as well as a mayoral election in the nation's largest city. Now, the 2025 elections really do foretell quite a tremendous turnaround for the Democratic Party over the last year, a political party that a year ago felt at its lowest likely point in the 21st century after they lost control of the United States Senate, did not win control of the U.S. House, and lost every single battleground state for the first time in any presidential election in the 21st century. And the reason why that made a difference between then and now is because what we saw on Tuesday was a complete and total rejection of Donald Trump as president of the United States, as he hits a record low approval rating as the disapprove hits plus 15 nationwide. The nation voted overwhelmingly in favor of the Democratic Party in a variety of different ways, and in today's video, we are going to talk about what that might mean for the 2026 midterms with upcoming House races and Senate races that, if the results look like anything they did 2 days ago, are going to be tremendously good for the Democratic Party. And so to put things into perspective, some of the top line races we are looking at today are the races in New Jersey, Virginia, and California's Proposition 50. Now, there's been a lot of conversation surrounding primarily that New York City mayoral race with Zohran Mamdani, who had an astonishing victory over Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, but that does not really have as much of a national indication as I do think that some of these other races are far more nationalized than Mamdani's was, even though I do think Democrats stand to benefit and learn a lot in terms of how many youth voters came out and vote, first-time voters came out and vote. It was the highest turnout New York City mayoral race since 1993, so certainly a lot of takeaways there. On the flip side, what we see on Virginia, New Jersey, and California is that in these statewide races, massive shifts relative to the last presidential election, and I want us really to unpack what that means for the upcoming midterm cycle. In the state of California, Proposition 50 is set to pass by 27.8% with roughly 3/4 of the votes cast. The remaining vote here, the expectation is that it actually improves this margin for the Democratic Party. So 27.8%, we can round to roughly 8 points, is about an 8-point improvement for the Democratic Party in the state of California relative to the last presidential election. In the state of New Jersey, this is a state that was expected to be within the narrowest of margins. Emerson College, which has been one of the best pollsters, it pains me to say because I live in Boston, and Emerson College is literally just a T-stop away, and it pains me to say that Emerson, that has been so reliable, completely nailed the 2025 Democratic primary in New York City, has been getting a lot of things right. When it came down to New Jersey governor, predicted a 1-point race. Mikey Sherrill won by 13 points. And in this vein, improved upon Kamala Harris's margin in the state by 7 points. Actually won this state by a nearly identical margin to that of Phil Murphy in 2017 when Democrats had no concern about the state. This time around, Republicans felt like it might be the perfect case, and you know what? It was not. We saw that the Democrats astonishingly blew out the Republicans in this state and improved upon the 2024 margin by 7 points. But the real killer for Republicans came in the state of Virginia, when Abigail Spanberger improved on Kamala Harris's margin by 9 percentage points and completely demolished the Republicans, not just in the governor's race, but also in other statewide races, like the one for Attorney General where Jay Jones, who was expected to lose by many people, we predicted he'd win, but many people said he would lose. Sound like Trump there, but it's true. Jay Jones ended up outperforming not only what the expectations were, obviously, if people said he was going to lose and he won, he outperformed Kamala Harris too. And in the lieutenant governor's race, went to the Democrats, and then in the state legislature, Democrats picked up 13 seats, went from a 51-49 majority to having a 30-seat advantage over the Republican Party in the state legislature. And so across the board, the Democratic Party very obviously did well. But we knew this. The past 3 videos have been about this strong overperformance for the Democratic Party because it is noteworthy in and of itself. But what does it mean for 2026? Well, if these states are indicators of anything, we can actually translate that to what it might look like on a House map in 2026 relative to the last presidential election. Because what the results show right now is that when it comes down to the House races in 2026, this generic ballot is probably underestimating Democrats, just as the polls did in Virginia and New Jersey and across the board here. The numbers say that Democrats will win the generic ballot by roughly 3 points. In the last presidential election, Republicans won the House generic ballot by roughly 3 points. That would suggest the polls indicate roughly a 6-point swing from 2024 to 2026. But in California, New Jersey, and Virginia, the swings in some cases marginally improved off of 6 points, but in others did so by 7, 8, 9 points. And what that meant and showed was that, as we saw in the polls leading up to California's Prop 50, New Jersey governor, and Virginia governor, is that they underestimated considerably, in some degree, Democratic support in many, many of these states. And so what we would do here is we're going to take a look at a map, 3 maps in particular, that will translate to unpacking what the numbers look like as they change from state to state, from circumstance to circumstance. We're going to flip over to the House elections in all of these states here so you can really see exactly what we mean here. But we're going to start off in this state, comparing it to the state of New Jersey, where we saw, there we go, Mikey Show actually gaining some support right there live in front of us as the votes are tabulated. But this is a state that shifted roughly 7 points to the left relative to the last election. So what we're going to do here is shift that on the national stage. To preface, it doesn't take much for Democrats to improve in their House margin. As Republicans try to scramble and change the maps because they know they're not the favorites in 2026, the map as it stands right now is in a good place for the Democrats. But a 7-point shift would result in a map like this. Democrats at 235 and the Republicans at 200. If you recognize these numbers, it's because you should. 235 was the number that Democrats had after the 2018 midterm elections. If New Jersey is the baseline as the least well-performing shift map on a statewide race we've seen across the board, Democrats already start out nearly on par with what their 9-point victory brought them in 2018. In 2026, in a hypothetical of an improvement compared to what it was, in the last cycle, from California, which you see Prop 50 set to pass by 27.8 in the last presidential election. Kamala Harris won California by just 20. That's an 8-point shift across the map here, translating to a congressional map that looks like this. An additional seat for the Dems, but a solidification in many of these races. A pretty comfortable place to be for the National Democratic Party. And then this is where it gets even better. Virginia as a baseline, a 9-point advantage for the Democratic Party we can find here. Shift the map. Oops, that's 15 points. Let's go back and do it again. Throw back to the House races, edit by margin, and shift in favor of the Democrats by roughly 9 points. The Democrats expand to 237. So, high range, 237. Low range, 235. It seems that... And this shift wouldn't even give Democrats the 2018 style margin. Don't confuse a 9-point shift from 2024, meaning a 9-point popular vote victory. That would just be about a 6-point national popular vote victory. This 7-point shift that's on your screen right now would be about a 4-point popular vote victory, which is actually roughly on par with what the data is telling us, with just a slight bump for the Democrats. When the polling in New Jersey and Virginia was off in some points by 5-6 points, in New Jersey, some of the best pollsters were off by 10-12 points, right? So you could find that it could be seriously underestimating the Democratic Party on the national level. But at baseline, what the results show is that in our first real and substantive and major and high-profile elections, the Democrats showed us that 2026 is going to be quite a good year for their political party. And as it pertains to Senate races, well, while we don't have the exact numbers on that, what we know is that at bare minimum, a 7-point shift relative to the last election would have given Kamala Harris every single swing state. The entire talking points would have been flipped on their head. If the 2025 electorate was comprised of what it is right now, then you find that these races would look very different in 2026. if they were held under the same electorate. Because if 2024 would be 319 votes in favor of Kamala Harris under the 2025 electorate, that means good things for the Democrats in 2026. It means that Maine is in play again, which it always was, but to a higher degree. North Carolina would be operating under an already Democratic electorate rather than a Republican one. That Georgia and Michigan, as two states that Trump won by 2 and 3 points respectively, would be states that Democrats would be in a likely margin in terms of electorate in, and a lean margin in Georgia. The point is that the entire map looks substantively different, because what we know is that Democrats are winning this turnout game. They are angry and turning out not just more as a voting base, but winning over more voters as well. And that's a phenomenal thing for a political party that feels that they have been out of power for far too long in this country. And now, Democrats are turning that anger that they feel with the President of the United States into a tangible vote share. One that we can only take away as a referendum on Donald Trump, and one that Democrats swept the races. New York, California, Virginia, New Jersey, among many others too, that we don't talk about and we won't talk about unless we're looking at it in future videos. But Georgia's public service commissioner race, Democrats won by 20 statewide. 20 in a statewide race in Georgia. What are we even looking in Pennsylvania? The 3 Democratic justices that the Republicans spent tens of millions of dollars to try to kick out, to overturn the state Supreme Court majority. Not only did the Democrats win it, they did it by 18 points each in a state that Donald Trump won. The results here are indicative of a 2018 style wave. And get this too, if we were to apply that same logic that we work with today of the Virginia election results, and the New Jersey election results shifted on a national stage from 2017 versus 2016, let me show you what that House map would have given you. If you shifted the 2016 election House races to the left as much as Virginia did between 2016 and 2017, let's take a look at that. What do we find? Well, Virginia went to Hillary Clinton by about 5.5 points. We can find it. Let's take a look. 2016, the Republicans lost Virginia. Clinton won it by 5.3. All right, let's get technical here since it's going down to the single percentages. Ralph Northam won his race by 8.9. Well, subtracting the two, that is about a 3.6%? About 2.6% difference between the two in this race. My math there is off. I'm sorry, guys. A 3.6% difference. I should have stuck with my gut. What that looks like on a national stage map in the House races, well, not great for the Democratic Party. Edit by margin, the 194 for the Democrats shifted by 3.6% to the left. Brace yourself. Oh, I guess not. Oh, we'll have to shift it there by 0.6 to actually show you. But there you are. The Democrats would have only gained 5 seats. So while 2017 was the year that showed us New Jersey, Virginia, every race, the Democrats were in fact inspired and turning out, and they nearly flipped the Virginia House of Delegates, went from being in the minority Republicans in a supermajority to cracking that and getting within 1 seat. Now Democrats are on the flip side where they're damn near a supermajority, but phenomenally better so on the governor's level. Also relative to the last cycle, same thing in New Jersey. We have seen a very different electorate. The shift map, again, to put it into perspective, of the best performing race for Democrats in 2017, because New Jersey actually, get this, shifted to the right relative to 2016. And yet, a year later, Democrats are winning nationally by 9 points on the popular vote. Again, you cannot understate just how significant 2025 was for the Democrats. This is the best shift map for the Democrats from 2017 to 2016. The best. And it would give them less than 200 seats in the House. Granted, a different map, but still. Democrats took that same map and demolished the Republicans nationwide. but 199 versus not the best performance for the Democrats, but the worst performance in a statewide race, and yet the Democrats demolished the Republicans in the House races. So yeah, 2026 is shaping up to be quite a good year for the Democratic Party. And every single way you look at it, that's just how it is. And I think that if this momentum and this energy continues into 2026, Democrats could be in for a tremendously good evening in the next midterm cycle. Because this president has unleashed something that we didn't even see in the first term. And it's translating into tangible and very real election results for an opposition party that, again, has felt powerless for far too long. And now, the voters are concretely returning their power in state and city after city and state after state and district after district, and barreling towards a midterm cycle where it seems that we are at the point of no return, not only with Donald Trump's approval rating, but the way in which that voters perceive the Republican Party in totality and are willing to vote against them in record numbers. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video for you to watch, and then a playlist for my 2026 House election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.